Welcome to Passioneer Magazine, the podcast, where you'll hear inspirational stories, encouraging news, and in-depth interviews with authors, influencers, CEOs, and thought leaders. Passioneer Magazine, the podcast. Bold ideas, brave pursuits, boundless inspiration. Dr. Fred, thank you so much for joining me here on Passioneer Magazine, the podcast. I'm so happy to have you.
Hey, it's an honor to be with you, Dr. Angela, and we'll create a great experience for your listeners.
Thank you so much for that. I cannot wait to definitely walk down the success journey road with you today. You have a lot to share, and I'm so glad that you're spending that time with us. But before we get started, there may be a listener out there that is a little bit unfamiliar with you or the wonderful work that you do. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I think the foundation was, I'm full Italian, so we were raised Catholic, but even though some of the religious tenets might have I had questions about, but we were raised in faith. So I always felt like I had a purpose. I always felt like there was a reason I was here. And then really it was about trying to find it. It's like, we're created in the likeness and image. And so we come here as a spirit, have a human experience. Then we got to not only figure out what we're supposed to do, but learn how to process all of our pain and our human experience and ultimately find what our calling is. And so I figured that out in undergraduate. I want to be a chiropractor. I started pre-med, but I've always geared towards natural health care. And this is the thing about finding the purpose. And when you're talking to entrepreneurs, especially people that have their own business, they have something that can make a difference in the world, and then you go from a full-time job to 2 or 3 full-time jobs, right? Trying to build a business. And so, and there's so many challenges, and, but your purpose is inside you. It comes inside you. Psalm 139:16 says, "You saw my days before they were formed." So it's like imagine you're in the spirit world, you're in heaven, you're with God going, yeah, put me in, put me in. And then, but what your soul chooses and what your personality chooses can be very different.
I could not agree with you more there. So you're really right. You never know how things are going to turn out, which leads to my next question. And you were kind of touching on that. What did you think you were going to be when you grew up, when you were a little kid, in your mind's eye? Did you know that you wanted to be a doctor, to go into medicine?
I had no idea what I was going to do. I thought I wanted to be a movie actor, but our spiritual path, God guides us along the path. And so, I kind of just, all I knew was I wanted my life to make a difference. Yeah. And that was it. I knew I wanted the world to be different because I lived, but I had no idea what I was going to do until I got almost halfway through undergraduate college. And then I found chiropractic. One thing led to another. And then I realized this is who I've always been. My mom was an RN, and when we were kids, if you sneezed once, she'd want to give you drugs. And I was the one that didn't want to take drugs. I believe that our body has the ability to heal naturally. Yeah. I didn't buy into medicine. So anyway, it's like those innate character, and I was a rebel, but the innate characteristics are already in you. Every trait that you need to succeed is already inside you.
Absolutely. I cannot agree with you more. I think that we are the people that we are supposed to be once we realize that we are made for a particular person. Right. Accept who you are and just walk in that. Some people, I think, were made to be that person that is a little over the top. But I also believe that there are folks that were meant to be, that quiet, still person. I had to explain that to someone. I was doing like a symposium, and I said, listen, we can't tell everyone that everyone needs to be an entrepreneur. Somebody needs to be the other members of the team, right? I said, even though I'm in front of the camera, I don't do this by myself. If it wasn't for the people that are behind the camera, this wouldn't work out as well as it does. So you are so right. We need to understand that everyone has been given a script that they have to play out. So I love that.
Absolutely. So the entrepreneurs, though, are the visionaries, and
Yeah.
they're the ones that they don't like the status quo. They're the ones that may tend to be more of the rule breakers,
Hmm.
because they don't agree with the way things are. That's why they have a vision. Visionaries may not care about details. That's why they need a team.
Yeah.
So, like you said, you're born with it. And, I find that a lot of that are people that are really entrepreneurs, that they don't always like school. So
Yes.
I didn't
Very
like
true.
school, and I
Hmm.
didn't agree with what the things I was learning, but we had to do it to get a doctorate. So,
Right, right. I think it's the coloring within the lines to
oh,
kind of give
absolutely.
people a picture. It's like, well, what's really going to happen if I color outside of the line, or if I choose to go left then right as opposed to going right then left. Like we have so many questions, and we just want to make sure that we're making the correct decision for us or for our team or for whatever our brand is.
Right.
And sometimes you're right. It's, being that positive disruptor, as I like to call it, that really helps move society along many times because someone had a grand idea or a bright idea or tweaked something just a little bit and made it that much more useful for others. So I love it. Now,
Yeah.
I like to ask the question, what is the point of your business? Like, what do you believe is the ultimate thing that what you do as far as your businesses are concerned, who do they help? Why do they exist?
Well, there's two things. Number one, my first purpose was chiropractor. So, what most people don't realize is chiropractic is a healthcare system. So, when I found this out, brain and spinal cord send energy to the organs, and most people that have diseases because their spine's out of alignment. And so
Yeah.
when I had patients come in, they may come in with back pain or headaches or whatever, and I would show them the spine and nervous system is foundational life and health of the body. And I would have people now were coming in with diseases. I mean, people that had cancer, and their cancer would clear up when I fixed their spine. I had people that were blind in one eye, and they get their vision back. They were deaf. They had autoimmune disease. I had MS people coming out of their wheelchairs. And that's what people don't realize. Most people are suffering in their health because they don't realize it's their spinal structure causing stress to the spinal cord. So, what's my purpose? My purpose is change the healthcare system. It's not about drugs. Don't run to an MD. We have the best medical crisis care system in the world. If you're in a life threatening condition, go to an MD. But if we're
Mhm.
37 countries down from hell, then if you have a health problem and you go to medicine, you're going to end up in a crisis. That's
Mhm.
not healthcare. So that's one purpose. The other purpose was 93% of Americans don't know their purpose. Yet a purpose, not only is it inside you, but people that are living their purpose are more fulfilled, they're happier, they live longer, they're healthier. And when I was practicing, my patients say, Dr. Fred, you're so positive, you know your purpose. I don't know my purpose. So I thought, wow, I was sad. And then one
Mhm.
day, my second wife developed cancer. And about 3 weeks before she died, she was in the bathtub and we were planning her life celebration. And
Mhm.
all of a sudden, she started howling, crying. And I'm like, I mean, howling. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what's wrong? And she said, I don't know if I did what I was supposed to do in this life.
Oh, wow.
The weight that I felt in that moment, I can't describe in words. It was unbearable. And then a few seconds later, I realized I was living it. I was living mine. And a
Mhm.
loud voice in my head said, no one in my life will ever say those words to me again.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
so
wow.
that's when, and then after she passed, a couple of weeks later, I mean, I already been divorced and now I was widowed. And I was like, I just want to find the most amazing woman in the world. And so I have to become the man that woman would pick. And so I went on this accelerated spiritual journey. And
Mhm.
4 years later, an acronym fell on me and it was called HEALED. And HEALED helps you connect, honor God within yourself, helps you learn how to love yourself on a more divine level, how to see that the pains in your past were actually guiding you towards your purpose. And then you can find the gift in that path. You can release pain, find the gift, hear the whisper, your divine whispers guiding you, and then find your soul purpose, the reason why you're here. And that purpose may change. I was a chiropractor. I don't practice chiropractic anymore. Now I teach doctors how to teach healthcare lifestyle chiropractic, but I also help people find their soul purpose, connect with God inside them, live a more empowered life, release the pain of their past that's holding them back, change from limiting beliefs into more spiritually based, empowering beliefs.
Yeah.
And so that's our
That is a huge step right there. Oh my goodness. If people would just do that, that too would
we'd be living in heaven on earth if they did.
would relieve that, right? Like, oh yes.
I will be done. Yeah.
Absolutely. Someone step that nugget there. Oh my goodness. Now, I always like to ask a question that is about self-reflection. So, what advice would the person that you are today give to the person you were when you first started your journey?
Well, one is, we're having a human experience, so it takes a while to evolve. If you have more faith in God than sometimes you do in yourself, it gets you through the hard parts. It says, like things in Matthew, when you don't doubt in your heart, you can speak a word and cast a mountain into the sea, right? So one good thing is do you have spiritually empowering beliefs? And one thing is everything is temporary. No matter what you're going through, it's only temporary. That God always has something better on the other side, and just breathe and stay in peace and follow your intuition. God is guiding you through your intuition. But anytime we go against our intuition is when we create a lot of problems and our pain. Your path is predestined. How you get to it will determine what you go through. And so there's things that I look back that, I definitely didn't listen to my intuition. But I know where my boundaries are.
Right. It's like, now I know what not to do. Let's not go that way. Absolutely. And I think it's as we mature and grow, we are able to look back at those times where we kind of took a detour, where we shouldn't have gone a particular way, if we wanted a smooth path, right? But we're able to learn the lesson. And I think that comes with maturity, learning the lesson of the detour so that we don't have to go off path anymore. So I like it. I like it. Now, can you name a person, or is there a person in your life that has had a tremendous impact on you as a leader, as a coach, as a doctor? And how do you think that has strengthened you business-wise or in your faith?
Well, I don't really, people use the term mentor. I don't really care for that because we're all human. We just have different gifts. I would say my mentor is Jesus Christ. I would say, who are the people that influenced on what I learned? And that's kind of how I look at it. So, there were some great chiropractors. One in particular, his name is Dr. Jim Sigafus. And, chiropractic is a hands-on healer. And before he died, I was able to shake his hand and say, thank you. You turned me into someone that was pushing on bones in the spine to actually being a healer. And because that's what you're doing, you're releasing life force energy in the nervous system with an adjustment. So when I decided to be a healer, and it was really Jesus that kind of spawned that, if you want to say, that made it different. My practice grew. How I talk to people changed. I learned, and then I wanted to learn about human behavior. So I studied how Tony Robbins took people through breakthroughs, studies how he takes people through breakthroughs for years. So now I understand how to get people from their humanity into their divinity. And I've also had 3 out-of-body experiences in another dimension with Jesus, one-on-one. And he taught me things that I wrote in my book, in the Healed System, in the book, You Are More Powerful Than You Think, which is available now. So my ultimate teacher was always Jesus. but through deep, intense, heartfelt, spiritually based prayer in a moment just for wisdom, not for changing any condition in my life. Like, I just wanted to know what sin was. God, I know how man looks at sin. I want to know how you look at sin. And then I had this incredible, I left my kitchen, I don't know where I was, but had this experience with Jesus. And every time I did that, I had these out of body experiences. I would love to try it again. Just, can I do that again? But it's not it, like, in
Right.
times of trouble, I go, Jesus, can I see your face again? He's like, you already know what I look like, man. Come on, you're being
Right.
a child.
That was then.
Yeah, grow
Right.
up. You already know. And then I feel like, a teenager complaining to their mother, they're
Right.
like, you know
It's like,
what? You're
come
right.
on,
I already know.
Dad. Right.
Yeah. They're like, come
Right.
on, man. We already talked about this. You're like, you know what? You're right. Okay, let me get my faith back.
Okay, never mind.
Because
Right.
I know our humanity whines like a child. I don't
Yes.
want you hurt me. La 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 la. And so
So true.
the one thing I say is, there's my opinion, there's one really powerful question that will change your life, and it's also how you handle every problem in your life, right? Because you can't solve the problem with the same mind that created it, and that was, how would God see this?
Mm-hmm.
So if
Mm-hmm.
I can see through divine eyes, how would I solve this problem? And the answer is always the same. It never changes. It's just love.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
It's just love. I
It's
love
just
that.
love.
It's just love. Now,
Every time.
speaking along that line, what are three things that you feel that you do in your life every day that helps contribute to your being a better you? Be it that it's business or it's personal, but what are three things that really help keep you in balance?
Well, one, it's my morning and evening rituals. So I'm totally dependent on them. I have spiritual rituals every morning, and I read from it. I read from the Bible, of course, in Miracles. There's like 5 books that I read from, along with affirmations and all that. So I get spiritually grounded. And then I go work out. So I have spirit, mind, body rituals, because in ourselves, that's kind of like the holy triune, right? We're spirit
Mhm,
first. We have a mind. I
mhm,
hope your spirit and your heart is controlling your mind. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of problems. And then I work my body out, because we're on this physical plane, so we have to stay healthy. And then
mhm,
when I put myself in that state, I just want to love people. So when I get on coaching calls, I love my clients. It's building relationships. It's,
right.
at the end of your life, it's not going to be the money. It's not going to be the house. Not going to be any of that. At the end of your life, what's going to matter most, I believe, is the quality of your relationships. That's really the impact that you're going to make here. How did you love
Mhm.
people? And then,
Absolutely.
yeah. And so once I get myself in the right state, because some mornings you wake up and it's like, oh, I can think of 25 problems I have today. So
Right.
I'm not going to go through my day in that state. I gotta handle my mindset, my heart, my spirit first.
Yes.
And then I do similar things at night. So at the end of the day, I want to release the day. I want to get back to that. I want to sleep well. I mean, I do my spinal rehab exercise, so I make sure all my spine's right, so my nervous system is relaxed. And then visualize and do all that stuff, meditate, pray, and put the right state in myself before I go to bed. So I
Mhm.
put myself in the right state before. I love people all day. I put myself in the right state before I go to bed.
Mhm. And I'm so glad that you mentioned the end of the day routine. The listeners have heard me many times say, start off your day with an attitude of gratitude. Write down, I'm very big on journaling. So it's write down at least three things before you start your day that you're really grateful for, right? And if you don't know where to start, number one, I woke up. Yay! You have a
Yeah.
home or you have a car or you have, the simplest things. But if you can the more you do it, the more you're able to go deeper into what you're really and truly grateful for. So that is so important. But you mentioned also walking in that throughout the day, but also ending your day with that. I think so many people forget to end their day with that positive mindset, with that positive attitude. And instead, they go to bed with a little bit of huff in their voice, so to speak, and then they wake up and they wonder why. It takes a little bit longer for them to get back to that good place. So starting and ending and walking in that positivity, I couldn't agree with you more there. So glad someone else is doing that in the world.
Yeah.
I love it. So my last question for you is, how do you believe you use your voice to empower others?
Well, there's using your voice is interesting because language is actually energy, right? There's sound waves, and sound waves are energy.
Mhm.
So how do I use well, I have a deep voice, so it's what fuel are you putting into what you're saying? So when
Mhm.
you speak from your heart, then you create miracles. So how you use your voice is, first of all, what energy am I talking with? And so that would be the first thing. And then, because you can have different moods, you can be impatient, you can do that. That's always the energy you're putting out there. The next thing, when you look at the vehicles, well, I mean, I'm on coaching calls all day. I'm right in the middle of my day right now. So coaching calls, conversations, even around town. So when I meet somebody, when you're fascinated with humanity, and my core value is, if I meet someone, I want them to be better because we interacted, to feel better about themselves, or to
Mhm.
feel more enlightened or more joyful. And that's an energy exchange. So I actually do that intentionally, put myself in a state of love, smile at people that are strangers. And then if you get in a conversation, then you compliment people, you acknowledge them, you lift them up. And then
Mhm.
obviously I teach seminars. I mean, those are intense experiences in a room where you're taking people through a breakthrough. That's probably my favorite experience, is to take groups through a breakthrough, and then hopefully, be as loving with my wife as I can, which, we can be very loving, obviously, with each other, but be as balanced as you can at home. And that's not, sometimes there's challenges, especially when you have kids and you have different perspectives, and
Right,
a lot
right.
of times different genders. Like, gender alone gives you about 180-degree different perspective.
And I think
So
people
it's like,
forget that, because I know that I have to remind women all the time, your husband is not your girlfriend, right? Like, your husband is not a woman. So he's not going to process the same way you
no.
would as a woman. And you should actually be happy about that, because it gives you a different perspective, a different point of view. So if you change your mindset about that, you may change the outcomes when you guys are trying to figure stuff out. And then folks are like, "Oh yeah, huh?" So if we understand those very basic things, is what I'm hearing you say as well, is that will help us maintain and keep that loving frequency in the air, keep that positivity around us, and do away with some of that toxic speech that we may come across during the day. So we do have to be very mindful of what we're putting out there in the world, what we are speaking into the universe. You are so right there. Well, Dr. Fred, I have enjoyed my time with you here
Thank you.
today. But before I let you go, I know there's someone who says, "Hey, I want more of Dr. Fred." So, with that being said, how can people contact you now? I know your books are, of course, available on Amazon or wherever books are sold, but if they want to kind of reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, my email address, Dr. Fred, DrFred 1, Dr. Fred 1, the number 1 at MSN.com. The Healed System is on a website, The Healed System, HEALED system.com. You can go there. My number's on there. There's two great books. The Best Kept Secret to Heal Your Back Pain is on Amazon. You Are More Powerful Than You Think is on Amazon. Those are great things. And just email me, or you can go to Elite, ELITE, coaching, LLC.com. That's my chiropractic website. So
I
there
love
you go.
I
Or
love it.
Google, YouTube, all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Dr. Fred, for being a guest on Passioneer Magazine, the
Thank you
podcast.
so much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Mhm.
Blessings.
Thank you for listening to Passioneer Magazine, the podcast.